the video for a chevron stitch, which is this stitch of like these arrows or the chevron. So it works better if you have a warp of even, but mine's 17, so it's not even. But you can still do it. It just takes a little more altering. Like I have to kind of alter the stitch design a little bit. So I usually do for mine is I start by going under 2 over 2. So I'll go under the first one, and then I'll go, and then so I kind of ignore the first one. So under 2 and then over 2 for the first stitch. Also, I doubled the strings to make it easier for everyone to see. Additionally, sometimes I think that using a thicker or colorful string makes it more visible than using a solid color, but that's ultimately up to you. So that was my first stitch, and usually I'll ignore the last one as well. So I just kind of go through it like that. Alright, so that's the first one. So now, but you can also choose not to ignore it if you want. It depends on how you want it to look. Like in this one I went over it like this, but you can also go through it. In the end, it doesn't really matter. So now I need to think, for my second row, I need to put a stitch in these two, these two, these two, and these two. So what I'll do is I'll go back in and I'll do, I'll go like this, and like that, and then these, and then I'll come through, and then the bottom one I usually go around. So that's the second row of the stitch. And since you can't really do bubbles too well on this, I usually just don't pull too tight. So that's the beginning of the stitch. Then we'll do the next row, which will involve me going under the first one because I like going around it. And then I'll come up at these two, and these two, and then that'll be the end. So I'll come up at this one, do those two, then I'll come back up with these two, and these two, and then usually I'll come around this one. Alright, so I'm also trying to tuck in my other extra strings, so I'll like pull this looser to get those in there. Alright. Okay, so I'll pull a little bit, tighten it a tad. Alright, perfect. So then I'll push it together. I wouldn't push it too tightly together because that will cause it to kind of like compress and not show the upside down V shape, I guess, as much. Alright, so then for the next stitch, I'll go under, and I'll come back up for here, because there's usually 4, and then it's the final one, so this will be like the last one before the final one, and then we'll start going backwards. So here we go. Come here. Push it all the way through. Come up at the end. There we go. All that through. Push it together. Alright, so now for the next one, we're gonna go it's gonna be the final one as the point. So we're gonna do these two, and these two. So we're gonna start off here. All right. So that's the end. So now we're going to start going backward, back down in the V shape. So I'm going to do these two, these two, these two, and then the bottom. So I'm doing it like that. Pull that through, push it together. So now it's starting to come back down. So you basically repeat what you did before, but backwards. So I'll do these two. And you can match it up, so like I need to do 2 more rows in order for it to be a complete chevron stitch. So we'll go back and we'll do the next one. All right. Whoops. Messed up there, so I accidentally did that. I didn't mean to. All right, perfect. So I'll push it together. So on my way back, I'll be done. So all I need to do is do this one. We'll go in. There we go. This stitch. And this stitch. And I'll come up with this one. Perfect. So pull that, push it all together. I think it looks better if you leave it wider, but you can also push it like this one I made much skinnier, but this one's much wider. It's ultimately up to you. You can just push them. And so yeah, that's a chevron stitch.